Welcome to Mojave River Valley News. I'm your host, James Roberts, and on this show, we're going to be discussing topics with Archbishop Chris Bubser and Jay Obernolte. A variety of topics are going to be covered today in the town of Apple Valley. Measure O. Archbishop goes in depth into as to why that should pass. In addition, we're going to be talking about some federal issues, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the Supreme Court nomination. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, James Roberts, and I am sitting with Mr. Archbishop, Apple Valley Town Council District 2 candidate. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, James. How are you tonight?
I am doing good. Thank you. You're an incumbent. No one's running against you.
Yep, I was very blessed.
Okay, that's a few of the candidates. You guys don't have any competitors.
There are only two candidates in Apple Valley running, and neither one of us had anybody run against us.
Yeah, why is that?
Because I really truly believe, and please remember that I'm probably a little biased for my own city.
Okay.
Our motto is a better way of life. I truly believe the citizens of our town believe Apple Valley does provide a better way of life. They're happy with that better way of life, and I believe that's one of the reasons why we didn't run. No one ran against us. I also believe it was a lot of tremendous luck and a lot of prayer.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, because it was, I've never seen that, to be quite honest with you, before.
Yeah, I don't know, from outside looking in, I'm in a neighbor city. I don't live in Apple Valley, but I spend my tax dollars in Apple Valley.
Thank you for doing that.
I do.
I appreciate it,
I like
James.
the Wenco out there. I'm going to just let you know.
I think I've seen you there, James.
Yes, you have. But from a outside looking in, it's a little alarming that you do not have anyone else running against you because it keeps you honest, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I was completely prepared to run a campaign. I had already gotten everything up and running to run a campaign. When I got the notice at 12 noon on that last Friday that no one's running, I was completely shocked.
Bet you
The
were.
Daily Press called me and I said, I can't believe this.
Mr. Bishops, let me just kind of do some rapid fire real quick.
Sure.
How are you guys on public safety right now?
Public safety for our city is different because we have an independent fire protection district. So what we have is just the law enforcement. We actually have 37 deputies, or what I call boots on the ground. We've had those same 37 deputies. We have not hired a new deputy in the town of Apple Valley in 15 years. And yet our calls for service have gone from about 32,000 calls a year for service, 911 calls, emergency calls, to over 75,000 calls per year.
Let me stop you. So calls for services up, is population up?
Population is a change in demographics. Obviously, population over the last 15 years is up, but the demographics is also changing considerably too.
But you haven't hired anybody else.
Have not hired anybody, and this is what we're hoping when we get to
Yes.
be able to talk about the measure. We can talk
I'm
about
gonna jump
it.
into that right now then. Measure O.
Measure O.
Well,
O
let's-
for opportunity.
why don't
This
you-
is our town's opportunity.
Let the general public know what's going on with it.
Am I looking at you or the camera?
Either way.
Either way. I like looking at you, James. You're a handsome young
I
man. My
appreciate that.
God.
I'm gonna let the wife know. Go ahead. Let's
Go
talk then.
This is the town's council voted earlier this year to give the people of Apple Valley the opportunity. We want to make sure we're educating the people, we're explaining to them where we are in our town, what we need to do to be able to continue our better way of life. And we put it out to a vote of the people. So right now what you're seeing is the flyer that you have right there was a product of the town of Apple Valley. We're taking this opportunity to educate the town people on and all sorts of groups. And I have to be honest with you, COVID has made it a little bit difficult.
Of course.
Normally I would be talking to Kiwanis and Rotary and Optimist and Lions Club. And you know, other than maybe an occasional Zoom meeting, it's made it very difficult. And also a tremendous amount of church groups. So we're out talking to people as much as we possibly can about our town and the initiative that'll be on the November 3rd ballot. And we're hoping that the community sees the same thing that this council on a 5-0 vote. You're not seeing a lot of 5-0 votes anymore. On a 5-0 vote, our council stood together saying, this is what we need to be able to provide for our community. And so
As a result of COVID, are revenues down?
expenditures are different than what we had projected. Our revenues are down because people aren't out buying. My restaurants are closed. I mean, other than dining out, a number of businesses were closed for almost 3 months. So our sales tax, which we haven't seen, just a lot of people don't really realize that sales taxes are normally 3 to 6 months in the arrears by time it's collected, goes to Sacramento, and then ends up coming back to the town of Apple Valley. So we haven't seen the numbers, but we know based on all the community facilities that are closed, all the businesses that are closed, not only in Apple Valley, but throughout all of San Bernardino County, throughout the entire state of California, that our sales tax dollars, our revenues for this budget period are going to be down considerably.
And let the general public know, what type of tax are they looking at?
That's a great
What
question,
percentage?
James. So in the state of California, cities, when you pay your sales tax, currently in Apple Valley, you're paying 7 3/4% sales tax. Only 1% of that, and this is so confusing to most people, only 1% of that comes to the town of Apple Valley. The rest is going to the state and the county. We actually have by law the ability to go out and ask for 1 more percent. That's all we're allowed to ask for. Okay. So that's what we're putting in front of the voters of Apple Valley on November 3rd, is to approve that 1 more additional percent of sales tax, which will come, it's only for, I'm only talking about Apple Valley, and every penny of that will come back to Apple Valley. It'll go into our general fund budget and it'll be approved by the town council. But I'll tell you real quick, James, over about 50% of our budget is law enforcement. That's where this money is going to go to.
Good. I was going to ask you where was the money going to go? So just real quick, I only have a minute left. What departments or divisions will that money go to?
Number one, law enforcement. We need to be able to hire more deputies, what I call putting boots on the ground. We need to be able to, we're never going to shrink that 911, but we need to shrink our response times, how long it takes us to get to a call. We also want to improve our parks. for Little League, for soccer. We need more amenities for all the members of our community, and then we need to start building our reserves back up.
Now, just to give the general public some security blanket, more or less, as it pertains to that money going to the general fund.
Sure.
Do you have a committee, or are you going to put a committee in place to kind of just look at the funds?
So this is already going into an existing fund. You don't live here, I apologize. Your viewers, town council's main responsibility is that of the budget.
I got to let you go.
That's okay.
All right. Thank you for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, James Roberts. I am sitting with Miss Chris Bupser.
Well done.
Well, thank you. I practiced on that one. If you only knew what was behind the scenes, me practicing. 8th Congressional District candidate. Good evening to you, ma'am.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. What was your trigger point jumping in?
You know, to be honest, it was when we learned that the current administration was going to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
I come from a healthcare background. I spent my whole life, really, several decade career working in the healthcare sector, making sure that we brought therapies early in my career for cancer and HIV to patients. And what I saw was that if we were going to repeal the Affordable Care Act without a plan in place, there were 100,000 people in this district and 20 million in our country who would have lost their health care. And thank goodness the ACA wasn't repealed, because in this pandemic, what would we have done with 20 million more people uninsured?
Yeah, people definitely need health care right now, especially.
Exactly.
Are you familiar with this district?
Oh.
Where do you reside? What
I
county?
live at the tippy top of the district in Mammoth Lakes.
Okay. Beautiful.
It's spectacular, and you know, part of why I'm running is about this place. You know, I really wanted to make sure that we protect the Eastern Sierra, but this district, every single inch of it is special in its own way. So I love the Mojave Desert. I love Joshua Tree. You know, the mountain communities,
Right.
Wrightwood, and all of it, and even down the hill in Yucaipa, Oak Glen, which has had 2 catastrophic fires recently. Like, every square inch of this district is spectacular, and I have walked much of it because I'm a backpacker and
Good
an
for
outdoors
you.
person.
Good
so.
for you. Are you a Republican or Democrat?
I am a Democrat.
Okay. This district, or this seat, has been held by a Republican for years.
Yes, for a long time. It was first created in 2012 after the last census. Make sure you complete your census, everybody, because that's how we get resources
Right.
to our local areas. And so, yes, Paul Cook first held the seat since 2012, and he's just announced his retirement.
Right.
So I'm trying to...
You just, hey, let's get in, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you had an opening, so why not take it? There's a lot of partisan stuff going on right now in D.C. What are you going to do to be able to bridge that gap?
You know, my entire career was really trying to take fact-based solutions and science and bring people together from different constituencies to make sure that we brought solutions for people. That included government agencies, private sector, academic hospitals. And so what I found is that we share more in common than we disagree on. And it's not usually the what that people don't agree on, it's the how. So my whole solution is to make sure that I listen to everybody and find that area of common ground, then work towards solutions.
Okay, please forgive me. I only have 3 minutes
I
left, so I
understand.
got to go rapid fire questions
Thank
right
you.
now. The questions for this interview is a little different than the local questions, okay, because we're on the federal level, and I got to talk about the things that's going on nationally.
Okay.
What's your position on defund the police?
You know, the truth of the matter is we have to make sure that we keep people safe. To keep people safe, we have to have police who are funded and trained. We also know that there's a systemic problem in this country, that there's a bias, and people of color tend to be mistreated more often, and we need to address that. It's time, it's long past time for us to find solutions that end that once and for all.
Black Lives versus Black Lives Matter organization. Are you for or against it? What's your position?
You know, the whole idea of Black Lives Matter is just that idea that we have to make sure that we agree and understand that there has been systemic mistreatment of people. It's not about an organization, it's about an idea and a movement.
Well, no, right now it's about an organization as well. I mean, because they're getting a lot of money right now. What's your position on that organization?
Well, the truth of the matter is what we really care about is making sure that that people's voices are heard and that they understand.
Right.
And it's, you know, I just think that that's a separate and
but a
entity.
major issue in the country. If elected, will you support your party's leader? So obviously it wouldn't be the current president, but your leader right now is Nancy Pelosi. Do you support
Well, I
Nancy
think-
or the president?
I think that, you know, the main thing is that we have to, well, first of all, whoever's elected president, we have to support them, because that's the key to our democracy, is you have to support your president. And then in terms of leadership, I think that ultimately you have to make sure that we are able to execute what we want to accomplish, and that is, you know, again, making sure that you're working across the aisle, but that our leadership gets the support they need to get things done. You can't get anything done if it's just chaos.
Do you think the president should have elected, or not elected, excuse me, appointed or brought up for vote the Supreme Court justice? Or should he have waited till after the election?
You know, I think that this close to an election, everything feels terribly rushed to me.
Okay,
And it's probably better for us to let the election play itself through.
fair enough. Position on Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood has saved millions of people's lives because it's a healthcare organization.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a healthcare organization
Okay.
where women get their mammograms and get their breast cancer
Fair enough.
discovered. So absolutely.
Fair enough. What about Antifa right now? Up north, you know, they're doing a lot of protesting, a lot of rioting and so forth. What's your position on them?
You know what? I don't have a position on it, because that's actually an idea. It's not a specific organization. I mean, we just have to make sure that we keep everyone safe, that we don't allow chaos to transpire, but that's just in general.
Fair enough. I got to let you go. Please let everyone know 3 of your major talking points as to why you should be elected for our representative.
Because I have spent my entire life making sure everybody has access to quality, affordable health care, and that's a great need in this district at this time. Our rural hospitals need support during the pandemic and beyond. We also need to make sure that we protect the middle class by bringing 21st century jobs to the high desert community specifically, based on clean energy and clean technology. And finally, we need to make sure that we protect our veterans and our seniors and all vulnerable populations, and help make sure that all middle class families
I got to let you
have the
go.
life they
I got to
deserve.
let you go.
Thank you
so
so
much. I
much.
appreciate you coming on.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, James Roberts. I am sitting with Assemblyman for the state of California, Jay Obernolte. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. It's great to be here.
I appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to jump right down into it. Why are you running for Congress?
Well, I want my children to have the same opportunities that I had when I was their age.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's clear right now that they don't. We are in a situation with coronavirus that's affecting a lot of people, and we are going to be years climbing our economy out of the hole that it's currently in. We need to make sure that we have positioned ourselves to make sure that the jobs come back. And unfortunately in California we haven't. I was leader of the opposition to a bill last year called AB 5 that takes away people's ability to choose to be independent contractors and says that workers can only be employees. And unfortunately it's been threatened and introduced in the Congress to bring a federalized version of that to the entire country, and I want to make sure that that gets stopped.
Wow, I did not know that. Oh, that's good to know. There's a lot of stuff going on the federal level. The questions that I'm asking you are completely different than on the local level, what I've been doing. So I'm going to have to jump into it. Do you support the current president?
Absolutely.
Okay. And with saying that, what's your opinion on Black Lives Matter as an organization and also Black Lives?
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that?
I think that Black lives definitely matter. I think that if you look at the racial disparities in economic progress that's made, it's clear that minorities have it worse in this country than the majority.
Okay.
However, I think that a rising tide lifts all boats, and our philosophy as a nation has got to be to get the aid and the relief and education and jobs to the people that need it the most.
And what about the organization Black Lives Matter?
Well, I support peaceful protest. I do not support violent protest. I do not support looting. I do not support burning.
And what about Planned Parenthood and abortion? What's your stance on that?
I am pro-life.
Okay. Antifa, what's your opinion on that?
Again, I support peaceful expression of political opinion. I do not support violence. I don't support looting. I don't support rioting. I don't support burning.
Yeah, you know, the president, after the debate, he's been getting a lot of pushback about white supremacy. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that he clearly has disavowed white supremacy I think that the format of that debate was so chaotic that he really didn't have the chance to make that impression, get that impression known clearly, but I think that's what he was trying to say.
And what's your opinion, specifically you, not the president, what's your position on white supremacy?
Well, I think as I've made clear, I think that we need to be a colorblind nation.
Absolutely.
And any organization that says that one race or one creed is superior to another, I think that that's a thing of the past and something we should all disavow.
Fair enough. The president just nominated someone to the Supreme Court. Do you think he should have held off on that, or do you think it was right for him to do so?
Well, the Constitution is extremely clear. When there is a vacancy that exists, the president is within his rights to nominate someone, and the Senate is within their rights to take up that nomination and approve it or deny it. So I think that he was completely within his legal rights to do what he's done.
Great. Okay. And with saying that, let's kind of transition. There's a lot of partisan stuff going on right now in Washington. What do you think you can do? Do you think you could work across the aisle to get things done?
Absolutely. I know I can. I have been one of the most bipartisan members of the legislature in California here in the last 6 years. I'm known as someone who works across the aisle. I've authored and passed more legislation than any other member of the Inland Empire delegation of either party, and that's because I work really, really hard at building relationships with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle. And that's something that I'd like to pursue in Congress.
And thank you, I appreciate that. On the federal level, what do you think is there's so many issues, but so it's a loaded question. What do you think are some of the top issues that you would need to address outside of coronavirus once you get to D.C., if you get to D.C.?
Well, so I'm currently the vice chair of the Assembly Budget Committee, and I also sit on the Joint Legislative Budget Committee.
Okay.
So anything to do with dollars and cents and budgeting, I've been deeply involved with, and I am extremely alarmed about what's going on at the federal level with respect to our budget deficit and our national debt. Congressional Budget Office said last year that by the year 2050, over 10% of our gross domestic product, 10% not just of our taxes, but of everything that we make in this country, will go just to paying interest on the national debt. Wow. And that was before coronavirus and the economic depression that's come along with that. So something needs to be done about that, and I think I can help.
Great. Your position on Second Amendment, do you think, there's a lot of pushback with Second Amendment. Are you okay with
I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
Okay.
I think the Constitution is crystal clear on that issue. And the people, I think we all should have a debate in society about things, but for the people that say that they're not in favor of gun ownership, I say, well, look, read the Constitution. And if you're not in favor of it, propose an amendment, but the Constitution says what it says.
Right. And do you think the country should move towards single payer?
No. I actually have a whole plan for health care. I think what we need is better and more open and transparent markets in healthcare. Right now, we spend over 10% of our gross domestic product on healthcare every year. In fact, it's 18%. That's more than any other industrialized country, in fact, any other country on earth. Other countries like the UK spend 10%. Singapore spends 5%, and they have much better healthcare outcomes than we do. And so we need to do some introspection as a society and a nation and figure out why healthcare is costing us so much and why we're getting substandard outcomes for that. And the reason is because government intervention in the healthcare system and the lack of existence of open markets.
Okay, and one of my last questions, should the U.S. seek to rejoin the Paris Agreement?
No, I believe in climate change. I think that we all should be dedicated to doing something about it. However, I think the climate accords were extremely short-sighted and unfair. Okay. So I would not rejoin them.
Okay. I hear you're a black belt.
That actually had a karate school in Big Bear before I got elected to the assembly. Yeah.
Right. I got to light it up. My son, all of my kids are black belts. Oh, sorry, honey. My youngest daughter's a red belt. She stopped there. Outreach.
Yes.
Have you ever had any outreach towards kids once you got into the state assembly as to, assisting in parks and recs and so forth?
Oh, of course. We have internship programs. We have groups of kids that come through the Capitol, but we also have, I own a video game development studio in Big Bear.
Okay.
So that's my business. And we have buses of kids that come through, and they love video games, and so they're really excited to hear about it.
I got to cut you off. 10 seconds. Please let the audience know why they should vote for Mr. Jay Obernolte.
I am passionate about serving my community, and I pledge to be your representative, to be the most transparent and honest person to represent you in Congress. I'd appreciate your vote.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you watching. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I have executive producer Eric Swanson with me. You were behind the scenes. You saw the interview. What did you think about Art Bishop?
Art Bishop, knows this town, and they're very passionate about putting together this Measure O, see where it's going to go for this community.
What about a candidate that's running for Congress, Chris Bubser?
Chris has her story. She's trying to tell exactly how her framework, how she kind of felt with the community.
Yeah, what about Jay Obernolte?
Jay Obernolte, I tell you, I have to come back to Kim Messin. Remember her?
Oh,
it's
yes.
like you were throwing questions at her, and she couldn't keep it. The same thing with Jay. Jay was very quick with the questions.
Yeah, they had me sharp on my feet. That was amazing.
Just throwing them right and left at you.
Right.
And I think that Jay has a lot of knowledge that he brings forward. He's sat in office for many, many years, and it's going to be. It's tough with that level of experience, to match that across the board.
And I asked both candidates pretty much the same questions.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I was
think
fair
you even
about it.
hit harder with Jay than her.
Okay.
So, I think that the three candidates.
Welcome to Mojave River Valley News. I am your host, James Roberts, and on this show, we're going to be interviewing three candidates, Larry Cusack, Smitty Smith, and Rick Herrick. A variety of topics were covered this evening by Larry Cusack as it pertains locally in the town of Apple Valley, Measure O. Also, Smitty Smith and Rick Herrick talked about issues as it pertains to the state. It was a very in-depth conversation. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, James Roberts. I am sitting with Mr. Larry Cusack, Apple Valley Town Council District 1 candidate. How are you, sir?
Yes. How you doing, James?
You're good. I'm doing good. Thank you. Well, you're the incumbent. No one's running against you,
Correct.
which is a good thing.
Yes. It is and isn't at the same time.
Right. It's funny. I was speaking with one of your coworkers, Art Bishop, who's also on the town council, and he didn't have anyone running against him. And I kind of pressed him a little bit, and I was like, man, I think you guys should have some people running, against you to keep you honest. And he chuckled and he said, well, that means we're just doing a great job. No one didn't need it. There's no improvements needed.
And part of it is our districting this year, where it's the first time we've been districting. So a lot of people that would normally run for council that have run in the past weren't able to run. So that makes it makes it a little different when you only have a section of town that you're representing. And I prefer I would rather have a group election and have the debates. And I mean, I had my committee together. We were already getting everything in line and all that. So we're working on it because we expected to have people run against us. That's
right.
You have to, and you got to run and you have to win, and you have to be ready.
I got to cut you off. I only got a few minutes and we got a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Let everybody know that's watching this. Tell them about yourself real quick.
So I was born here in Apple Valley. I was born at St. Mary's Hospital. I've lived here all my life. I've got 5 kids and, actually 7 kids now, or 8 kids, I'm sorry.
Oh, they keep coming. Oh, right.
They keep coming. Got 8 kids and 16 grandkids and 3 great-grandkids. So they're all pretty much local here in Apple Valley. And I've had a business here in Apple Valley Communications since my dad started it back in 1956. So I just continued it from there. So, and I've been on a lot of the commissions and committees, and I've always helped and donated my extra time for the town. So, and when it came time to run for the town of Apple Valley, it just felt right.
All right, and the people have been pleased with you. You're going to be your third run.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Right now, public safety, is a big issue throughout the country. What's your position on defunding the police?
We never want to defund the police. Our community is one of the safest communities here in the high desert. That's part of our reason we want to run the Measure O, the 1 cent tax increase. We want to add more deputies to our community. We want to keep our community safe. And we want our response times to be faster. So when someone calls, they get a sheriff at their doorstep when they need him. Right, Measure O. What's been the response within the community about it? We ran a test on this a few years ago, and there was good response for it. So we're hoping we get the same response. We have to get 50 plus 1 to have it pass. It's on the general election, so it's part of our general fund. But this is our with our town council as a whole, which unanimously voted for this. We are pushing it to help with our sheriffs, help with our parks and recreation, and helps build our general fund. When we do these things, when I'm on the council, my goal is I look out 10, 20 years, and what I do now is going to help the community down the road, because I won't always be on the council. So right. I have to look what's going to benefit our community down the road. And with that money going into the general fund, how are you guys going to safeguard that money? With the council that we have, we're set aside this money that's going to go to the sheriffs on purpose. That's our goal. That's what we do. We're a united council. We don't have people on the council right now that are going to say this money's going somewhere else. So we're really tight with our budgets, and we want to put the money where we want to put the money. Is there a particular number regarding deputies that you want to hire? I think we're 3 to 6 more deputies, okay. And as we get more tax base here, more businesses will be able to increase it. Right now, our revenues with our property tax and our sales tax now don't increase fast enough for us to add more. Yeah, it seems like a lot of the cities and towns are going to be going to this because of COVID. Revenues are down, yeah. And people want to feel safe. They do, and that's a safe community is a comfortable community to live in. Yeah, up here in the high desert in particular, there's speeding. People drive fast here in the high desert. Are you guys going to be allocating some of those funds with the deputies that you hired for more enforcement on the traffic side? The sheriff spoke the other day about this, about the traffic and about the people running the red lights and people having to wait, and they're actually working on that now. Okay. So, and if we can get more deputies, that will help. But yeah, it is a problem. The intersections are getting worse. People are running more red lights. Yeah, it's getting to be a problem with more and more people moving up here. Right. Yeah. And how are you guys getting the word out to the community about Measure O? We have our Facebook. We have our signs out. We're actually doing small meetings with people because we can't have a big group event. So right. we're trying to get that out. We're doing some phone banking this weekend. We've got a group of people that are going to be calling the residents of Apple Valley just to fill them in and find out what their thoughts are and make sure they know the reasons why we're doing this. Right, and I only have a minute and a half left. Okay. Outside of public safety and parks, where else do you think you can allocate those funds to assist this town? Well, part of it is a lot of people want the roads fixed here in Apple Valley. We do get Measure I funds for the roads, and with the new gas tax that went in, we're actually getting some more money for that. So we'll be able to do more and more roads. We're on a road schedule here in Apple Valley. You can actually call the town, and you can actually know exactly when your road's going to be repaved or resurfaced. Oh wow! Every road in Apple Valley is on a plan to be resurfaced. And with the monies that are coming in, we can speed that up. Speed up, which is a good thing. It is. So a lot of people have potholes, brand new cars, and have right. Alignments are going out because of potholes. It is a desert. The ground moves. That's good to know. I only have 20 seconds left. I appreciate you coming on the show. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, James. All right, and we're just you got to get the word out for Measure O. We appreciate it. We want everybody to vote yes on Measure O. Well, I'm James Roberts, your host. I am sitting with Mr. Smitty Smith, 33rd Assembly District candidate
for the state of California.
Thank you.
That's a
Thank you for-
mouthful.
Thank
How
you
are
for
you?
having me today.
I appreciate it. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Why are you running for office?
I'm running to represent the 33rd Assembly District. We haven't had representation in the high desert for about a dozen years now. Jay's been up in the mountains, Tim Donnelly's been up in the mountains, and it's time to bring it back to the desert, represent the folks here that I've represented for the last 20 years.
That's good to let everybody know. And you have an extensive resume as to public service here in the high desert. Would you let the audience know?
I've been got elected in 2004 to the Hesperia Recreation and Park District. 2006, I ran for Hesperia City Council. I've served 8 years on Hesperia City Council. 3 of those 8 years as the mayor. 9 and 10, the first of 3 gentlemen that served back-to-back mayorship in Hesperia. In 14, I was the mayor again. And then in 14, we moved from Hesperia to Apple Valley. We're going to retire and say our time has been served. But in the time in Hesperia, we got the Ranchero Undercross project that they talked about for 30 years. And then 2014, everybody remembers the Ranchero on-ramp at the freeway catching fire. I was the mayor when that happened too. So you can look back into history, but we did a lot of good things in the high desert. I've been involved since we got here in 1988.
And you're currently sitting on?
I am the president of Mojave Water Agency, serving as the president of the board of that agency to make sure we have water for the future. Currently, we have over 140,000 acre feet in storage in the Mojave River right now with the RQ project. We just did a groundbreaking yesterday. We're doing an extension to Adelanto to make sure they have water for the future too.
And one of my general questions for all the candidates is what makes you qualified? And you just pretty much covered that.
and I've been a small business owner in the Valley for 36 years,
Right.
pumping business. So I know what it takes to sign the front of the check and to get up and work hard every day for it.
That's good to know. Let's talk about water on a state level. You know, in Central Valley, they had some major issues with water. With your experience currently on the water district, like what do you think can improve?
I tell you, we don't have a water shortage problem in California. We have a water storage problem. And we have to get to the state to start opening up, build a reservoir. We're working on some groundwater banking, is what it's called, groundwater storage in the Mojave River currently right now. Silverwood Lake, it's above ground storage. Underground storage, you don't have to worry about evaporation, but we're going to put water back into the groundwater, into our aquifer.
And this bug is going to drive me crazy. Please let the general audience know what are some of the major talking points of your campaign right now?
Always public safety. That's the #1 job of government. Number 2, the environmental issues that are going on right now with California. We need to get back into manage our forest right, logging, cleaning them up. Donald Trump gets beat up for raking the leaves. We don't talk about that. But let's get in and thin out our forest. Let's cut some banks through our high-powered power lines so we don't have to cut off the power to the folks and that they cause the fire. But let's get back to managing our forest, because the other impact that it's going to have is on our water table. When the ash hits the ground and then the rains and it runs off into the stream, all that impact is going to end up in our water reservoirs.
That's good to know.
And another thing people don't know, when the ash compacts, it creates like a sheet. It does not perk back in the ground, so it's going to be runoff. That's where you get more and more troubles with runoff and landslides.
Okay, and you had talked about public safety.
Public safety. We do not need to defund the police. We need to fund more deputies on the street. #1 job of government is to protect the citizens, and if they don't feel safe, they will not move into any community that they don't feel safe in. Right. And that's just a fact of life.
Right. And right now, you know, even on the local, state, and on the federal level, there's a lot of partisan stuff going on right now. It's bad. What are you going to, up in Sacramento, you guys are outnumbered.
Well, and I'm optimistic that the numbers are going to change.
Okay.
We have to change the number, at least to stop the super duper majority that they have. They don't need any Republican votes currently right now. Let's get back to working together. There's 70% of the issues in the middle that we can both agree on. Let's work on those issues.
Okay. Have you had any reach out to anyone on the other side recently?
Multiple times. I talked to Assemblyman James Ramos in regards to some education issues. Not everybody's made for college.
Right.
Let's train them for a job if it's plumbing, construction, contracting. I've been working with the Victor Valley College when I was on the foundation for airline mechanics, the engine mechanics in airlines right here in our backyard at SCLA. Okay. And that is going to, you start out at $50,000 a year. That pays the rent.
Yes, it does. Sacramento, what are some of the major, or let me get 1 or 2 major issues right now that's plaguing the state? What do you think?
Not working together. It's a one-party rule, and it has been at least for 20 years now in California, and that's where we got to get back to more common sense. AB 5. It sounded good when they started it. We're going to go after the subcontractors, but it has affected hundreds of thousands of employees in California. When I was a concrete business, concrete pumping, I had subcontractors.
Right.
And that is what the construction industry pretty much runs on. To make everybody an employee, I can understand that, but some people might want to work an hour or two. Some might want to work 4 hours after their job that they already have. So we need to address the issue of workers' comp, overtime, and make sure they're getting a minimum wage pay, but not to say that you have to do this. Let's get back to work.
I only got 1 minute left. Homelessness. You know, we have that issue here locally and also on the state level.
And the biggest part of homelessness is our housing issues. There's so many mandates for housing that you have to have solar, you have to have fire sprinklers, and the cost of living is California too high. That is causing the homeless issue. Besides drug addiction and alcoholism, in Hesperia, my time in the city council, we reached out to every homeless person that we contacted and let them know that there's services for you. Not to just tell them about the services, get them to the services that they need.
Only got 30 seconds left. Thank you for your time today. Please look in the camera and let everybody know why they should vote for Mr. Smitty Smith.
I've been representing you in Hesperia for the last 20 years. I look forward to representing you in the state of Sacramento, so state of California in Sacramento, and I'm ready to work hard. I will not give up until I am finished.
I got to let you go. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, James,
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate everything you guys are doing here for us.
Welcome back, everybody. This is James Roberts. I'm your host. I am sitting here with Mr. Rick Herrick. He's running for the 33rd California State Assembly District. How are you, sir?
Good.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me, Jay.
I appreciate it. You coming on the show. Let's jump right into it. What was your trigger point for running for office?
Jay Obernolte actually was running for Congress. It opened the seat. He's a very good friend of mine, and I would never run against him. In fact, it wouldn't make sense for me to run against him. So with him going on to Congress, the seat opening, I took a really hard look at it. And as things progressed, I looked at actually the candidates who were running and realized with my experience and what I've done and the time I've spent in Sacramento, actually lobbying for a city, that I had a good shot at this. And I actually had a lot of experience, enough experience to go into Sacramento with enough, I'll call it oomph, to try to get things done. But you know, the fact of the matter is, it's difficult in Sacramento, as we all know.
Yes.
Right at this moment, being a Republican, we've got we've got a majority who doesn't see the same things that we see here, especially in the high desert and mountain areas. So, majority of those folks are on the coastal areas.
Oh. Okay.
And because of that, they just see the world differently. And we need to bring a lot of respect back to this community, back to the high desert, and back to the mountain areas as well. And I think that I've got the right temperament and the right approach. I'll be able to do that and work with basically anybody who has a good idea in Sacramento.
The mountain folks, and so to speak, and the desert folks, we have different needs. You know, it's it's different terrain.
Yeah.
You know, and it's tough for metropolitan people to understand how desert folks live, so to speak.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just, this is a rural community.
Right.
And it's different. It's a bedroom community. For other areas, people have to commute back and forth. They don't really understand that, hey, by the way, you can't get on a bus and end up in San Bernardino very easily. It's just not going to happen. You need your vehicle. So when we had this higher gas taxes that came our way, it really hurt all these communities that we want to serve. And it's those sort of things that make California really expensive. And the problem with people leaving the state is because it's so expensive. And we just have to have the entire state see that going that route is not the right way to do it. We have to make it more affordable housing and everything else for the state.
Yes, let me jump in there. I only have so much time and I apologize. Your experience.
Yes.
Can you please let the general audience know what that is?
This is my fourth term or 16th year with City Council, City of Big Bear Lake. My fourth year as mayor, and previous to that I was a chairman of the Department of Water and Power. I've been also the president of our fire board, president of the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency. Currently I'm the president and chairman of a foundation, charitable foundation called the NAE Foundation, which actually just provided $1 million to help build a zoo in the mountain area, an alpine zoo.
Wow.
President of the Chamber of Commerce as well for a number of years.
Okay.
And I own my own company, and it's a media company, a couple of radio stations,
Nice.
Internet news company as well.
And to transition, what are some of the major issues right now that's plaguing us in the state?
It's our budget. I've got to tell you, when I first started to run, I'm looking back over a year ago, the issues were different. I mean, we were looking at wasteful spending on a bullet train in Central California that was going nowhere, overruns, billions of dollars. Well, now we're in a fiscal crisis with the state, and $54 billion in the hole we're going to have to go into this coming year. Now, some of that will be filled in because the economy in certain areas is doing better than other parts of the economy. For instance, construction, interestingly, has been doing very well.
Okay.
But tourism, for most places, has been way down. And so overall, we're going to lose jobs.
Yes.
Disneyland, or Disney, just lost 28,000 employees, had to lay them off
Wow.
because of what's happening with COVID. So that's going to reverberate for many years throughout the state. So we're looking at 2022, 2023 as kind of the turning point, we think, when actually jobs will start coming back in a normal rate. And some of them will be gone forever, sadly.
Right.
Some of the places that we love right now are going to be gone. And we're going to have a rough time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And right now, the partisanship in Sacramento is pretty brutal right now. What do you think you're going to be able to do to kind of bridge that gap so you could work with the other side?
Well, first thing is, you don't go to Sacramento and start poking people in the eye. Okay, we've had previously assembly members from this area who have actually, they were very effective with doing that, but they got nothing else done. I'm the type of person that I want to work with everybody, no matter what the idea, where it comes from, it doesn't matter to me. It can be an independent, it can be a Democrat, it can be a Republican, but good ideas are going to help this district. That's what I'm all about, and I want to work as a coalition with them to try to make that happen. I don't have a magic wand. I'm not going to go to Sacramento and magically make things change. So I do know there's going to be some restrictions that are going to take place while I'm there, but I've got the right personality to make that, to make those relationships happen.
And it's good that you said you'll work with anyone.
Anyone.
And that's
Bring an idea.
Yeah, because right now a lot of people, oh, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, independent, I don't want to deal with you. It's almost like they're the enemy, but we're all American.
We're all Americans. We're all Californians. We love this state.
Yes.
And that's the reason why we're here. The California dream is alive. We just have to get everybody together again and kind of see we're all on the same team.
Right.
And we have different points of view, and that's good. We want different points of view. We want those ideas to come to the table. But we all have to pull the right direction and to pull the same direction. And we're going to make this state better than ever, I'm convinced.
And I only got a minute left, so we're going to be wrapping this up. We're at the height of the campaign season.
Yeah.
What are a couple of major talking points that you're going out and running on?
Well, like I said before, it's really the budget. We're going to have to really look at that very carefully, because right now I know the governor and the legislators are hoping that the federal government's going to come through with quite a bit of money. But that's a big hope, and it really depends who's elected on the national side. And we're not doing ourselves any favor by constantly picking fights with the administration. We need to stop doing that. We need to get logical, and we need to start thinking, listen, if we're going to do that, we're going to partner with the federal government. Let's start doing the right thing with them and stop doing that. The other thing, we're going to have to start looking at actually, where we're going to cut, where that's going to go. I got to cut you off.
Closing arguments, so to speak. Please let the audience know why they should vote for you in 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
5 seconds. That's
Just
it.
vote for me. I've got bears on my signs. They're all over the place.
Right.
And,
I appreciate
that.
that.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you
job.
so much for having me.
Very strong. I have executive producer Eric Swanson with me. You were behind the scenes. You saw everything that happened.
Yes, I did.
What did you think about Larry Cusack?
Larry Cusack, I was glad to see him come through to get a chance, because neither one of Larry or Art have somebody run against them. So I think that just get him a chance so people get to know him that don't know him, and also talk about Measure O.
Yeah, and what about Smitty Smith? He's been around.
Smitty has a lot of energy. My gosh, for the guy like, I've known Smitty for a long, long time, and he's always got energy. He's ready to go, 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 go.
Right, and what about Rick Herrick?
Rick brings knowledge, again, from the Big Bear area. I think Rick is learning more about our area all the time. You can tell by the interview. So I think that the three candidates...
Welcome to Mojave River News. I'm your host, James Roberts. On this show, we're going to be interviewing 3 candidates for Victorville City Council: Messon, Irving, and Laws. On this show, we're going to be covering a variety of topics with the candidates. One of the main issues within the country right now is public safety and defunding the police department. Also, we're going to talk about the homeless. What can the candidates or the city do regarding the homeless? There's issues going on as it pertains to Measure P that's on the ballot this time around, the 1% sales tax to cover the public safety. It will help fire, police, code enforcement, and a variety of other issues like libraries and literacy. Good evening, everyone. I am sitting with Kimberly Messon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. You're one of the candidates for Victorville City Council.
That's correct.
All right, we're going to jump right into this. How long have you been a resident in the city of Victorville?
I'm a resident of Victorville for 23 years.
Wow, that's great. You've been here a while, so you've seen a lot of ups and downs and a lot of changes.
I sure have.
Okay. And currently, what do you do? And what are your experiences?
So I currently work for Congressman Cook as his Veteran Services Director. Right after I graduated college at Cal State San Bernardino, I was given the opportunity to work for him and be able to serve the city that I grew up in, and it's been a pleasure of mine.
Wow. And how long have you been doing that?
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
Yes.
Wow. And do you stay primarily locally, or do you ever go to DC?
I've gone to DC once, but I mainly stay local here. I also do community outreach, and I'm able to relate to our constituents what's going on in DC and also the issues that are going on within the district. We want to relay that to the congressman. We do a lot of casework with federal agencies as well, and then I do work with a lot of veterans.
Great. And what was your trigger point to have you jump into this race?
So as I mentioned, I've lived in Victorville a long time, and when I came back to work for Congressman Cook, I've noticed how much the city's really changed. It's not the same city I grew up in, not the same city my parents wanted us to have opportunities in and be able to have a better future and better opportunity. So I want to be able to hopefully be able to do that for the people of Victorville and offer them what my parents were hoping to have for me and that I thankfully was able to get.
Fantastic. And have you served in any leadership capacity that you feel that you could bring that experience over as a council member?
No, not yet. At least not being an elected official, I have not had that capacity. I have worked in a nonprofit when I was in college and had internships with small leadership roles there, but to this standard, I have not.
Okay, fair enough. And right now with the climate, I've been speaking to quite a few of the candidates, and right now, due to public safety, and there's a lot of talking points out there in the community, not necessarily here in the high desert, but nationwide about defunding the police. What's your position on that?
I am not for that. I do believe that we need our police force here. I'm actually endorsed by the Sheriff's Employees Benefit Association.
Nice.
Without our police department, it's very hard to tackle homelessness, report to any calls that are needed for emergencies, and just keeping our community safe.
Nice. And are you familiar with Measure P currently?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what's your position on that?
I am for Measure P. It is
Okay.
a sales tax, so thankfully there are many individuals that come through Victorville and also shop in Victorville within the surrounding cities.
Okay.
So it is something that I believe would be beneficial, and it's also not just impacting the Victorville resident and it wasn't compared to a property tax.
Nice. And you were talking about your endorsement with the police department. I think that's the union, correct? Or
Yes. So yes, it's the Sheriff's Employees Benefits Association. So they represent all the sheriff's employees and within California.
fair enough. And are you currently endorsed by anyone else?
I'm also endorsed by GOP, by San Bernardino GOP.
Is that right? Fantastic. Roads. It's a big issue here in the high desert, especially in Victorville with the potholes. You're also having some new roads being built. What's your position? What can you do to help save our cars?
So I'm hoping to repave a lot of roads. I drive through the city all the time. So,
Right.
We have Mojave, Armagosa, Nisqually, La Paz, various roads that need a lot of work done. So it's something that I would definitely like to see the city council engage in and be able to do that for the community so that they can also have their safety.
Fantastic. I'm a local business owner, not here in the city of Victorville, but in the high desert. And what's your position, or what do you think you can do to help the community for the small business, in a sense, to foster ideas so people will want to jump in and start a new business? Is there anything in particular?
As far as new business goes, we definitely want to appeal to, as I like to say, my generation, and want to make sure that they establish roots here. So communicating with the businesses and how they started, if they want to potentially grow, make another small business, and maybe a few streets over.
Okay.
But it's something, a conversation that we'd have to have with the city, the residents, and other small businesses in the area, and see what worked for them and what can hopefully work for potential businesses as well.
Thank you. And we're at the height of the campaign season right now. Are there 3 specific talking points that you're using that you would like to let the general public know about?
Safe communities, better opportunities for our children, and also good paying jobs.
That's straight and direct to the point. Fantastic. And to transition, I want to get back into public safety right now. Because that's where my heart's at. I'm a retired police officer, so when we're talking about safety, we all are thriving to be safe. When my wife goes to the store, I want to make sure that she's safe.
Yes.
Is there anything we can do to bridge the gap between the public and the police department so we're all in unison together?
Yes, so I do believe that there could be some type of community policing in a way. You do need more officers in order to do that, but also just having more engagement between the residents and the police department, having a committee. I believe there is currently one, but also expanding that. Victorville is a very large city, and I think that's a little bit underestimated. So there needs to be better communication and just outreach in general.
Right. I'm just kind of curious, I don't even know this answer. Does the city of Victorville have like a police commission or anything like that locally?
Commissioner, not that I'm aware of.
Or a police commission, like with residents, they could sit on the board and, I guess engage with the captains and the sergeants and see what's going on locally.
So I know that there has been more engagement on that end, especially after recent events that happened. They have started a board that is communicating with the sheriff's department directly, especially in Victorville.
All right, I'm running short on time. I need you to look in that camera and please let the residents know why they should vote for you.
I'm Kimberly Messon, and I'm running for Victorville City Council to ensure that we have safe communities, better paying jobs, and better opportunities for our children.
And right now, due to COVID, everything's pretty much shut down. We're slowly starting to open up statewide and within the county as well, and it's filtering down to the cities. Is there anything in particular you would like to see locally as it pertains to COVID?
Definitely outreach to our small businesses. They are the backbone of our community, and they have been impacted the most. So anything that we can do for them, and just interacting with them and seeing if there's anything that we can bring up at a higher level as well.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You have a good evening.
You as well.
Good evening. I'm with Leslie Irving, one of the
evening.
candidates for Victorville City Council. Good evening to you.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing good. I appreciate you coming on the show.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, so we're going to jump right into it. Can you please let the people of Victorville know why you're running for office this time around?
I'm running for office because I want to move the needle forward in the right direction. I think that we need new, bold leadership, especially post-COVID. And so I am running for office to offer that leadership. I'm very concerned about our community, especially with public safety. Concerned that as we move forward, the trajectory that we're on, we need to figure out how we're going to fund public safety, especially law enforcement. Also, I'm interested in partnering with federal agencies like NASA to bring in more job opportunities and job creation. And so I'm running for city council because I think I have something to offer.
Great, and actually let's just jump right into public safety. It's actually one of my questions. Right now, with the way things are going on in the country right now, you hear a lot of talk about defund the police. What's your position on that?
I don't support defunding police. I do believe Black Lives Matter, but Blue Lives Matter as well.
Okay.
And so as a property owner, I believe that all citizens should be protected, and police are there and they should protect citizens as well as property.
Right.
So I do not support defunding police. However, I do support reforms. I think that police should do the work that they're hired to do, which is to serve and protect our community.
Okay.
I like to see more social service workers handling things like homelessness, mental health crises, domestic violence, and those kinds of things. So those kinds of reforms I do support.
So
However,
let me cut you off on there. So when you make that type of comment, you want to transition the police from doing those particular.
correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. I think that police are doing way more than what they should.
Right.
They're hired to protect and serve. They're not hired to mitigate domestic violence issues, deal with homelessness. I think they're spending way too many resources in that area.
Fair enough. Are you familiar with Measure P that's currently?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
What's your position on that?
Well, you know, I don't want to increase taxes, but I do think that instead of increasing property taxes, sales tax increase is the way to go. That way, others that come into our community during the day, they can help share the cost.
Everybody has some skin in the game, just
There
not the
you go.
property owners.
There
I
you
feel
go.
you. I agree. Is this your first time running for office?
No, it is not.
It's not. When
No.
When's the last time you ran?
I ran in 2018,
Okay.
right, for city council as well.
And,
Go ahead.
and what was your trigger point getting into this race this time around? Was there anything in particular?
Well, to be honest, some people asked me to run.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Okay.
They asked me to run, and they thought I would be a viable candidate.
Okay.
And so I took on the challenge.
Right. And is there? Do you have any endorsements currently?
Yes, I'm endorsed by the Carpenters Union, Local 909, and also by the San Bernardino County Democratic Party.
Okay.
Yes.
And have you attended any of the council meetings within the last year at all?
I have, but since COVID-19, I have not participated. The last meeting that I attended, it was canceled. I went to a budget workshop. For
Okay.
whatever reason, they canceled the meeting and public had to disperse and leave. So I haven't been to a meeting since then because they haven't been open.
What can you do regarding the council to bring some civility to that board or that, the council itself?
You mean decorum?
Yeah, decorum, civility, where, there's not so much butting of heads, but people are able to talk and get along and actually have some type of compromise and get things passed.
I think what I can do is work with my fellow councilmen or council persons.
Sure.
Because that's the kind of leadership I offer. I'm committed, but I'm also collaborative. And to be honest, I have an opinion, but I also try to look at the other side. So I know it's a bit combative, but I think I can bring calm to the council.
And it's very needed at this time as well.
Absolutely.
And what are you currently doing? What are your job experiences that you can, on your career side, what you can do to transition to help the council?
Well, I'm a special education teacher.
Okay.
So I deal with children with special needs, and I also deal with their families. So for me, programs are important, especially for youth and seniors and the disabled. You asked, what can I do? I have a master's in education administration. I'm also working on a second master's in public administration. So I think I can bring that wealth of knowledge to the city council and allow, the entity to tap into my savvy and my knowledge.
And we're at the height of the campaign season. Are there three main talking points that you're utilizing out there?
Well, of course, I support public safety, robust public safety programs that includes fire and law enforcement.
Okay.
I believe in fiscal accountability to taxpayers. I don't believe in wasting taxpayers' money, but definitely I want to make sure we do prudent spending. Fiscal solvency is very important. And additionally, the partnering with other agencies, more job creation is something that is big for me.
And right now, there's what's your position on the homeless issues right now within the city?
Well, the homeless situation, I understand that our task force, I would be very supportive of the task force. I understand that they're using the Housing First model. I believe in reducing barriers. That could be regulatory barriers so that entities such as churches and social service programs, nonprofits, can actually get in there and help the homeless. But it's a three-tiered approach. Prevention is number one,
Sure.
obviously, and then we have to think about single adults and children and families. So mental health
It's critical.
is critical.
Let me jump in. We're around
Okay.
30 seconds.
Oh,
I need
okay.
you to look at that camera and let the people know why they should vote for you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Irving. I offer committed and established leadership. I want your vote on November 3rd 2020. I'm number 20 on the ballot. Vote for Leslie Irving. I will support strong public safety programs, fiscal solvency for the citizens of Victorville, and most of all, I will bring jobs to the high desert. Thank you.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you for being on the show.
Okay,
God bless
thank
and
you.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is James Roberts. I am sitting with Mr. Jerry Laws, the Victorville City Council candidate. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm fine. Looks like I'm with a good crew.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming out this evening. Is this your first time running for office here locally?
No, you shouldn't ask that question.
Okay.
I ran
Why not?
I ran once for city council. I think it was about 12 years ago.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
And then I ran once for Congress. I ran twice for U.S. Senate. But that was afterwards. I ran one for state assembly and one for state senator.
Wow. So you've been around the
and,
block.
and then I ran once for the 8th district. And Openup called me up and says he's running. I said, that's nice, Jay, but you ain't got John Hancock in your family tree. I do. But that's beside the point.
Yes,
I lost
sir.
that race.
Yes, sir. And what made you jump into this race this time around?
Well, look, the local government is the closest to the people. So if you can't control your local government and do what they should do, and you'll see I have a book called U.S. Constitution. It's called the State Constitution. It was put out a few years ago, about 2015, which they do periodically. We are to obey God, family, country, and the Constitution, Bill of Rights. So, since I've been to council meetings several times, made my points, sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, but at least they listen. You only get a minute and a half there, so that's the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
Is that your question? Why did I run?
Yeah.
Well, I want the airport developed. That was stopped when Obama evidently got in power.
Okay.
And I didn't have a chance to talk to the people who are running that out there right now. That's a gold mine. It's for all of us. It belongs to the city of Victorville. If they had any guts back then, they should have taken a little part of it before they tore it down and made it into an Air Force retirement home.
And how long have you been a Victorville resident?
About 20-some years.
Okay. So you
Came up from Hermosa Beach, Torrance area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know this is oceanfront property, you know.
No, I wasn't.
Beverly
aware of
Hills would be asking for your house, but of course you live down below, but that's okay. You'll be up here sooner or later.
that. And what are you currently doing, or what experiences do you have that you could feel that you can assist the council with?
Well, I've been to meetings many times. I've been on radio for years, some TV, and I've supported the Constitution, Bill of Rights. My parents were very constitutional minded, good people, taught me those principles and all that good stuff. So I look at it this way. I'd like to see the city not raise a fee all the time.
Sure.
That's a tax,
Yes, sir.
in case you didn't know it. And the other thing is I like to see the city get the airport developed. And then I really can't say much more about the city because I really haven't been inside to see what's actually doing. Now I think they did overcharge us for that sewer breakdown a while back, but we're still paying that
Okay.
and stuff. But that's good. We have our own fire department now. That's wonderful. That's good. We have good sheriff and we have good deputies.
Now, since we're on public safety, right now in the community or nationwide, actually, you know, there's a lot of talk about defund the police. What's your position on that?
Well, when I was in the ambulance business down in LA years ago, I used to take a nut like Pelosi to Big General, and I take her down there and they take her to Norwalk. She'd be out in a few weeks. No, that's nuts. You obey the Constitution, Bill of Rights. And by the way, you don't go against the Constitution and you don't go against the Bill of Rights. You can, but you're going to be hurt in the long run. And all this nonsense is going on with this rioting and all that
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
Well, remember the group up in Idaho, that outfit was coming up to destroy their little town.
Right.
They all got their guns, went to the edge of the town and said, okay, come on in, but you're not going to walk out alive. You don't do that. Remember, for me, this is the promised land too, not just Jerusalem.
And thank you, I appreciate that answer. Are you familiar with Measure P currently?
What's measured? No, I'm not.
No, there's a 1%.
I pee a lot, but that's beside the point. I'm old.
Right, and it happens. there's a proposal of a 1% sales tax
In
help,
Victorville?
yes, sir, to help fund public safety.
Well, you know what? We've got plenty of public safety. We could have more. We've got a good fire department right now. We don't need to raise taxes.
Okay.
Okay? Period.
Okay.
In fact, we probably need to, in the whole state and the counties, we need to cut the taxes. Period. And get back to the Constitution, Bill of Rights.
And we only have a few minutes left. What's your position on roads? You know, there's a lot of potholes in the city.
Well, if the
Hold on a
government,
second, let me ask you a
I'm
question.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry about that. Being on radio all these years, I have to take fast.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, here in Victorville, there's a lot of potholes, but there's also some good roads. What do you think you can do to help improve the infrastructure?
Well, I can think a lot of Democrats like to put in those holes, but I better not do that. Anyway, look, we'll get to that when the time comes. You get the airport developed, that'll bring the revenue in for us to help us on our street and our money for our city. But right now, you need to defend, and by the way, you need to have a militia too, not just our good cops and our good sheriffs.
Okay.
Because the militia consists of everybody from 16 to, should be 116, who have the right to come to the city hall if they're called and defend that city. But you have to do it. But the main thing, now this is my personal opinion, being I'm a religious fella.
Okay.
If you follow the 10 Commandments, a lot of things will be better off.
Yes, sir.
But you must obey the Constitution, Bill of Rights.
I appreciate that. I only have a minute and a half left.
Well, I ain't dying and going to heaven, so I'm here.
What?
Don't forget to vote for me.
You can't. I'm not a resident of
You're down
Victorville.
below. You can't vote for me.
Here's my question
Go
to
ahead.
you. What are 3 major talking points as to why you're running and why the people should vote for you?
Well, it's very simple. I'll defend God, family, and country, and the Constitution, Bill of Rights,
Okay.
and the city charter, as long as it's constitutionally minded, in my personal opinion.
Right.
But I'm not going to know until I get in office.
Right. And what do you feel that you could bring some stability to the council?
Yeah, I'll live it this way. If I can't get nothing passed, I can talk them to death, and they'll all leave us alone.
Right. Do you feel that you can go
Yes,
ahead and,
absolutely.
and negotiate
I've
with
been
them?
doing this for years.
Right.
I've been fighting this anti-American stuff since the 1960s.
So I'm assuming you're kind of
I'm
like
an old Marine
on
before
the
now, I'm
lines
doing
of,
none after now.
I appreciate that. You're kind of like a gadfly in the sense of when you would go to the council, you would bring things up to the council. What in particular have you had changed or addressed out of all the times you've been here?
Change my address?
No, changed in the sense of when you're.
Oh, well, I think one councilman who's running against me, he's a pretty good guy, he got certain things done that need to be done.
Okay.
But we're not getting the airport developed. That's our money.
That's
right
for my
there.
next segment. I'm out of time. I appreciate Mr.
Well,
Ross coming to
nice
the
to
show.
meet you.
God bless you. Welcome back, everyone. I have Eric Swanson with us. You were behind the scenes.
Yes,
What did
I
you
was.
think of the interviews? Kimberly.
Kimberly was interesting because you could not give her questions fast enough. She was like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
She was right on every answer.
Yes.
Just everything you needed.
And what about Mr. Jerry Laws?
Jerry Laws is always, you know, I love the guy. You know, he's got a passion that is not comparable to anything about politics and the Constitution. He carries it with him.
Yes. And what about Miss Irving?
Miss Irving, you know what? You can tell that she really wants to get involved in this idea of what she sees that the community and what the public should actually start seeing.
Right.
And I saw that she was trying to make that passion. So I think that the 3 candidates.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of our new videos.
Welcome to Mojave River Valley News. I'm your host, James Roberts, and on this episode, we're going to be interviewing 3 candidates for Victorville City Council. Bowen LaPlante Garcia. We'll be right back. On this show, we're going to be covering a variety of topics with the candidates. One of the main issues within the country right now is public safety and defunding the police department. Also, we're going to talk about the homeless. What can the candidates or the city do regarding the homeless? There's issues going on as it pertains to Measure P that's on the ballot this time around, the 1% sales tax to cover the public safety. It will help fire, police, code enforcement, and a variety of other issues like libraries and literacy. Welcome back, everybody. I'm James Roberts, your host. I'm sitting here with Mr. Bob Bowen, Victorville City Council candidate. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, super. All right, so we're going to dive right into this. Why are you running for office?
Why am I running for office? I'm running for office because I think that our city council needs some help. What I've been seeing from them in the last years actually, has been unacceptable. I think that they're on the wrong path, and I intend to bring them on the right path.
In what capacity do you think they're on the wrong path?
Too much infighting, too much disagreement, and too much showmanship on the city council that has almost become legendary. You know,
right?
Not to say that our city council meetings, aren't entertaining. They are,
right?
But it's putting out the wrong message, and I believe that it's tainting Victorville, and that is why I'm running.
Okay.
I want to restore honor, integrity, and trust back into our city council.
And what experiences do you have, life experiences, which will allow you or bridge the gap, so to speak, within the council to bring some civility there?
To bridge the gap, well, first of all, I am a former Marine and a Boeing manager for 32 years, now retired. I worked for a large corporation. Boeing is no small corporation, and the hierarchy there is similar to city council and to the structure of our state, and all the way up into national politics.
Right.
It is relatively the same, but you have to know the issues.
Right.
You have to know what's going on, and you have to be able to look at things objectively and make that decision.
Now, how long have you lived in the city?
I have been in the city since 2018. We actually bought our house back in 2005.
Okay.
But I had to run up to Seattle for about 10 years or better, and to finish out my career, I was on the C-17 with McDonnell Douglas, and that contract wouldn't allow me to retire, so I had to go up north to Seattle. We returned in 2018.
Okay.
Retired, and that's an interesting point here, is that I moved to Victorville because I choose to.
Right.
I want to be here,
nice.
And I love this city.
Okay, fantastic. And that's a good reason to be here and to run and serve your community. I'm asking all of the candidates that are currently running, right now in the city and in the country, there's a lot of issues regarding defunding the police. What's your position on that?
Absolutely not. I believe in law and order, and we need to keep law and order in order for us to progress forward.
Right. And have you, what's your opinion on Measure P? Are you familiar with that?
Measure P, it's an outstanding, the P stands for protection. And it is a public safety initiative that we really need to pass.
Right, and I kind of agree with that on a personal level. I don't live in the city, but I think right now, due to COVID, a lot of cities are hurting, and fiscally, they're going to have some issues going on. So when it comes to a tax, it's not a property tax, it's a sales tax. So you have it's a consumption tax, so it's something that will be good to purchase goods within the city to be able to provide protection.
It's a tax on non-essential items.
Right.
Groceries, medications, medical supplies, those are all essential. Non-essential, beer, cigarettes, clothing. Those are non-essential items. Those are the items that are going to be taxed.
Right. And as it pertains to businesses right now, do you think they're having a tough time financially?
Absolutely.
What do you think the city can do to help bridge the gap and help them out?
Well, you can promote, you can promote working and buying within the city. That is something that a lot of places do. I'm thinking about New York and areas where they support their local community.
Right.
We can do that here.
Right.
We can do that right here, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be promoted that way.
Right. Fantastic. And one of the big topics, if you lived in the high desert for some time, roads and transportation is an issue. A lot of people have brand new cars and potholes and so forth. What's your position on infrastructure?
We need to repair our infrastructure, absolutely.
Right.
If elected, I'm going to be looking into deeply what we can do to improve our roads and conditions.
Right.
That's a no-brainer for me there. That's something important.
Another issue which is hot within the city is homeless. Measure P actually provides funding over there towards the homeless in addition to libraries and so forth. What's your position on the homeless right now and the problems?
It's a very sad affair, and it has grown, exponentially. I can't even say that word, but it has grown out of control, and we need to do something about it. However, this is not just a Victorville problem. This is a national problem.
Yes, it is.
And if there was an easy answer for the homeless, it would have been solved already. It's not an easy answer, but we need to work on it.
I want to lighten it up a little bit. I'm going to ask you a fun question.
Sure.
With you being a Victorville resident, where's one of your favorite places to hang out at?
Oh, I love to go to BJ's Brew House. You're able to sit and relax. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they got prime rib. All about that.
Right.
Hey, this is Saturday. Hey, I may have to go. No.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I wanted to lighten it up. I appreciate that. Next 30 seconds that I have left, I want you to look in that camera and let the residents of Victorville know why they should select you as their new council member. Right there.
I'm Bob Bowen, and I'm running for Victorville City Council. I have a strong passion to improve our quality of life here in Victorville. It's something that I feel very strongly about, and it's something that I want to be able to say that I am a proud citizen of Victorville.
I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure. Welcome back, everybody. I'm James Roberts, your host, and I am sitting with Mr. Roger LaPlante, Victorville City Council candidate. How are you?
Oh, very good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful evening now.
Yes, wonderful.
All right, so let's get it in. Let's jump in this. Why are you running?
Yes, I'm running to represent. I'm a veteran.
Okay.
I'm a veterans advocate. I've been in local politics for many, many years, representing veterans.
Okay.
And I noticed that there really wasn't a lot of representation for the vets in our area. So I decided to jump in. I ran for a couple different races.
Okay.
But city council really interests me because I think that on the grassroots level and the local level, we can really help people.
Yes, sir. And how long have you been a resident of Victorville?
Oh, I've lived in Victorville for 15 of my 30 years in the high desert.
Wow. So you've seen the ups and downs and sideways of everything that's going on. Right now, with the council and the way the body is made up, what's your position on the infighting?
The infighting is really, unfortunately, disgraceful. I come from a military background, like I said before, and it was all about esprit de corps and professionalism.
Yes, sir.
And decorum and getting things done.
Yes, sir.
Getting the mission accomplished. That's not being done in the city of Victorville right now, where unfortunately a couple of councilors are fighting over who's going to be mayor, and it's kind of an ego contest, and that's really sad to see because the citizens of Victorville will lose because they're not spending that time to make the city of Victorville better.
And I'm assuming your military background, you feel you could bring some normalcy to the body?
Absolutely. 35 years working with the government, United States Army specifically. I retired out of Fort Irwin.
Okay.
That gave me a lot of organizational skills, I'm a pragmatic individual. I like to get things done. That's the bottom line, is mission accomplishment.
And right now we're at the height of the campaign season.
Yes.
You know, what are some of your main talking points right now that you're running on?
Jobs, jobs, jobs. We have had a lack of jobs here before the pandemic, and this unfortunately has really affected our economy in a negative way. I know a lot of people that have lost businesses, have lost hourly wage jobs, and that's something we need to prioritize to get those jobs back.
And outside of that, is there anything else pressing within the business community you think?
Well, yeah, the homelessness problem. How are we going to get businesses here? How are we going to attract new residents here? How are we going to promote our area when we actually allow this? It's an emergency on the streets, and we need to correct it as soon as we can. I'm on the homelessness task force for the city of Victorville, and we've come up with some very creative solutions. They're not going to solve the problem of homelessness, but it gives the homeless people a place to go and gather the resources.
Okay, thank you for that answer.
Hey, no problem.
Got a question.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on within the country right now regarding public safety and defunding the police and so forth. What's your position on that locally?
I'm not a fan of defunding the police. I think we need to refund the police, reform the police. I know law and order. I know it. I've worked around it all my life. We need to have law and order, and the officers of the law need to also follow our constitutional laws.
Amen. Yes, sir. What about Measure P? What's your position on that?
I'm not a big tax guy, to tell you the truth. Normally, there are other resources. I would think high administrative pays that we can maybe consolidate and gain some of that revenue that's lost. But taxing the people of Victorville is not the right option at this time. It's not. We're taxed enough already.
Implement some austerity within the system.
Yes.
Claw back some certain issues.
Yeah. There's other places we can get that money.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. I only got a few minutes left. What about the transportation, roads, and so forth?
That's very crucial to our area. Infrastructure, I-15. Unfortunately, we just lost the freeway coming in from Palmdale. The trains going from Apple Valley instead of Victorville. That's a failure of our city council for not being on top of the infrastructure issues in our city. We could have had it over by
Elevado?
No, by the park over in Old Town.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't. Apple Valley got that, the train station, and that's vital for our area. We need those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of potholes in the city.
Evedale Park, that's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Evedale Park.
Well,
that's where the homeless shelter's going.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
I want to transition to something kind of fun. I've been asking the questions since you've been a resident for 15 years. What are one of your favorite places in the city to spend your time?
Oh my gosh, that would happen to be some of the local restaurants.
Okay.
We're actually Hollenberger, Apollo Burger.
Oh, Apollo.
I'm a restaurant guy. I had a restaurant in Barstow, and I love to eat. I'm losing weight now. Lost 30 pounds the last couple.
Hey, let me know what you're doing.
Keto.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of the fun things, and it's this historic area. My mother and father came through here on a train back in the 40s. My dad was stationed in San Diego before he was deployed in the World War II in the Pacific. They came through this area, and I got a picture of the old station going through the Mojave Narrows, their old train going through there. It's just it's memories, and it's something we need to bring back. The history of Old Town, the history of Victorville is something that the residents can give to the next generation.
Right. Something
and that
to be
works
proud
for
of
everybody.
locally.
Yes.
Shop locally, buy locally.
Oh yeah, we need to rebuild our Old Town and the rest of the town.
In the next just 10 seconds, I wanted to jump back into public safety. Do you think there should be a civilian review board for the police department
Absolutely.
and so forth? You do?
Absolutely. Those things need to be run by civilians.
Okay.
In the military, we're led by civilian politicians. You know, sometimes we don't like that, but we have to accept that.
Okay.
You know, that's the chain of command. That's how it works. And so, yeah.
I appreciate that answer.
No
I
problem.
really like that. I want you to look in that camera and let the viewing audience and the voters of Victorville, please let them know why they should vote for you, sir.
Hello, Victorville. My name is Roger LaPlante, and please vote for me on November 3rd. We need to make systemic change. I'm a pragmatic guy. I know how to get things done, and mission accomplishment is top priority. Making sure that we have the lowest amount of crime in our area. We just need to help our people. It's all about the citizens of Victorville.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
All right, thank you.
All right, until next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm James Roberts, your host, and I am sitting with Ms. Gloria Garcia, current mayor of Victorville. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Wow. So this is going to be your third term?
Yes.
In office?
In office.
Wow. And how long have you lived in the city?
I was born and raised here in Victorville.
Okay.
My family has been here 120 years, right here in Victorville.
Wow, God bless them.
I am Victorville.
Okay, you are Victorville. Wow, and what's making you stay in the game, so to speak? Why are you running again?
I have a passion for the city. I have a passion for the people. I have a passion for everything that takes place here in our city.
Okay.
Being that I have lived here my entire life, I have never lived anywhere else. I have raised my 2 sons, my grandchildren. I have great-grandchildren now. I have a business. I have been in business 45 years right here in Victorville.
Oh, really?
Working with the community.
Okay.
Believe me, I have been in contact with everything that has happened here since the city was incorporated.
Okay. So I'm going to have to transition because I'm short on time.
Yes.
But you know, the city has been in the news a lot regarding some of the shenanigans that are taking place within the council meetings.
Yes.
What do you think needs to happen to bridge the gap, so to speak, so there's some normalcy?
I would like to be real honest about it, but I don't like to...
You don't have to name names,
Yeah.
but what's going on? I mean, people want to know.
This is the first time in the history of Victorville that we have had a council person that has come in with so much anger, animosity towards staff, the city, everyone. Came in with an agenda that was disruptive.
Okay.
If we can get that resolved and go back to normality, that's all it takes.
Right. And right now, I'm asking all of the candidates, defund police. You know, that's a big talking point throughout the country right now. What's your position on that?
My impact on that just upsets me so terribly much. I have so much respect for our police department. I will briefly just mention I did lose my granddaughter, my son's one and only biological child, to a vicious crime, murder. Oh. And police were there. They were the ones that have helped us through it all.
Okay.
It took 15 years to get justice, to finally bring those people to actually
to justice.
And it has made me realize that if we do not have police, if we don't have that protection, we have nothing.
Right.
Families need to feel secure.
Yes. And while you've been in office, have you increased or decreased the census of the police department?
We have increased it.
You have increased.
And with Measure P, we intend to increase at least 30 more, by
30 more officers?
Immediately, if it passes.
And what's your position on it, on Measure P?
Definitely I'm for it, you know, okay. I'm really for it because it will enhance, you know, our ability to bring in police and firemen, and families need to feel secure, you know, so that they can actually have a better quality of life.
And I got to cut you off because I don't have too much time.
Yes.
Talking about Measure P, you know, and I was reading through it, it was public safety heavy, you know.
Yes.
But I saw some pork in there as well.
Yes.
Why even on the local level, pork has to be thrown in there?
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea why that...
Were you instrumental in bringing Measure P?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Did you push back on the pork, on some of the line items that can be funded through Measure P?
Well, they have to. Well, I'm all for, not just for police, for more police, more firemen. There are so many other things.
But
that
like
we
libraries
need.
in particular.
Yes, those are things that actually I feel that we do need for our families, you know, to have.
Okay. And while you've been in office, what are some of the, which vote have you made while serving addresses voters' concern, not going in the future, but your past. What have you done to address those issues?
The homelessness. I was actually instrumental in meeting with Supervisor Lovingood, Jim Cox, and myself. We actually walked all through the downtown area, him and I, and we looked at all the burned down buildings. We looked at all the homelessness. We sat with Supervisor Lovingood way before it was a plan to build Desert Haven, the motel that has been constructed into a facility, to house the
So that's
homeless.
one of your pride and joys?
That was one.
Okay.
And of course, we just actually voted for a grant so that we can actually build that community on D Street.
The center. I got to cut you off.
Yes.
We're at the height of the political season. What are some of your main talking points that you're running on this time around?
Public safety.
Public safety.
It has always been public safety since I first was elected in 2012.
Okay. Do you think you have a traffic issue within the city?
We do have traffic issues in the city, and hopefully that will be addressed if we do pass Measure P.
Measure P, okay.
Yes.
In regards to enforcement?
Traffic control.
Traffic
More
control?
traffic control.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. Homelessness. With the new center, when is that supposed to open up?
If we receive the grant, we should be able to break ground sometime next year.
Okay, so maybe in a couple of years this should be open.
It shouldn't take that long because they're modular buildings.
Okay.
And they can construct those immediately.
Fantastic. Well, I only have 30 seconds left. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Please look at the camera there
Yes.
and let the city residents of Victorville know why they should vote for you, ma'am.
Please vote for me. I will be your voice. I don't fight, but I will represent you. That's my motto. Thank you.
All right. That was great. I appreciate your time today. Ms.